Welcome and thanks for joining us for another season of Scope. Accommodating for more than 100 trainees during a year, the City Mission PNG, located just outside Port Moresby in Mirigeda, Central Province, takes on the responsibility of meeting the needs of these trainees. As a non-profit organization, the mission operates on the generous support of private businesses, organizations, and individual partners to make a difference in the lives of countless Papua New Guineans each year. For over 2 decades, City Mission Papua New Guinea, through its mission statement, has been spreading the love of God and meeting human needs. The City Mission runs a life skills center. The programs focus on keeping young men off the streets and out of a life of poverty, hopelessness, and crime. The young men aging from 18 to 26 undergo a 4-phase, 14-week residential program that includes basic life skills training, literacy education, and various vocational training that includes agriculture and livestock. Many of the trainees stay on after completing the program to help other young men find their purpose within the Life Skills Center. 14 years ago, Kevin Kennedy from Gulf Province, who lived and grew up in the Joyce-based settlement, now known as Host Camp in Sabama, enrolled at the City Mission office in Koki. Today, Kevin is a staff supervisor of the Metal and Fabricating Department of CMPNG.
As a trainee, me come through the program is tapanit lo leaders plomi and all some pioneers plo City Mission. They've been through this program. Na one of something all learning misal program all impatin lo me. As a trainee, me kisim lo all na now it's like I bel hungry blo learning mo liam plaman one kind of semi lo street lo me and become up inside lo me. Na time is a bel hungry come up and mosem me looking mosem opportunity blo me lo helping mo liam plaman one kind of semi inside lo street where I no look save lo hope all things some life I'm just finished now. Me play school bagrap na one me play just stop osem na just joining more criminal activity na making more something where no right in salo community na bagrap more community na name your family na society want to.
Kevin expressed that enrolling in the City Mission program in 2008 was the best decision he made for himself. The program helped him recognize the huge contrast between the life he was living compared to the life he was experiencing while in the program.
But time come inside the program na milugo sa program and building me na put him some impact inside the life lo me being God sa bel hangre la help him liam plaman one kind of semiken. Na milugo go back lo community lo me na milugo go back lo Moresby City as a capital city miluki mosem. One something by making Molian Plaman or semi now youths lo look sabe. There is a hope, na there is a bright future inside of life rompla. Noga rompla something, noga rompla hap, noga rompla organization and mosem city mission when helping people look sabe lo sla brightness inside of future rompla. So me been taking up this la ownership na sla time no commitment lo stop inside na come up join him sa leadership team na helping Molian Plaman one kind of semi. Now been through this program, awesome trainees, me talk thank you lo City Mission na. Thank you lo one time na commitment na effort where all leaders been putting into life lo me na. One kind something where all impact him lo me, but me impact him lo liamplaman where all come through.
Another young man that stayed on after completing the program is Lucas Goradari from Tufi in the Northern Province. Lucas shares a similar story to Kevin. Recently, Lucas completed training under the Life Skills Center and is now an assigned leader, supervising other young men in the daily operations of the City Mission kitchen that caters for the daily meals of more than 150 young men.
Maybe come inside lo program lo City Mission lo year 2019 me come inside me start lo program. First, me been come inside, me been start orientation 3 months, 1 month orientation, na narapa 2 months, me stop inside lo agriculture department lo garden, na inside me been shift, come lo phase 2, me been start lo landscaping department, me been come stop lab, me been stop 3 months, inside lo landscaping department lab, 3 months finish lab, me shift go lo come inside lo workshop. Me been making trade blomi lo carpentry na mi bin stop 3 months insalo carpentry department na mi bin learning trade insalo carpentry mi bin stop 3 months finish lang up na narapa 3 months mi bin ko come out lo go come lo Quezon lo Moresby city na insalap mi bin ko come Quezon lo insalo 3 months mi bin stop lo go come lo Quezon okay na dislam total up lo 1 year 6 months and finish lo disla okay insalo disla mi bin stop 1 year leadership training 6 months leadership training okay leadership training finish mi bin stop sa one workman insalo City Mission na now mi look out in kitchen department okay now 1 year blow mi finish na now disla year 2022 first player ba second year blow mi now.
In its decade-long service to Papua New Guineans, the City Mission in Port Moresby has been a beacon of hope for many young men to find their purpose through the mission's life skills training program. The 14-week program has proven to not be a straightforward approach for many of the young men coming from varying backgrounds, many struggling with a sense of belonging and leaving behind a life of bad habits and decisions. Although being provided with the basic necessities of accommodation, daily meals, toiletries, employment advice, and many others through CMPNG, for many of the young men, discipline, fellowship, and strong boundaries are newly introduced concepts, challenging them to step out of what they once knew as the norm, to live a life of respect, faith, and honest hard work. Joe Mitakaiva is a young man whose origins lay in Karama, Malalawa in the Gulf Province. Born at the Port Moresby General Hospital and later brought up in Casey's settlement in Port Moresby, Joe says he did not realize the significance of staying in school during his younger years. Currently enrolled in the mission's program, Joe is taking back his life by applying himself in the mission's 14-week Life Skills Training Center program for young men like Joe, teaching them basic life skills, instilling boundaries, discipline, respect, and Christian principles, and helping them find employment afterwards.
So we start in community and start school to a mino tintin go school. So mauslen karimba go putin but to a mino just realize was a school and bisla kain 18 so but all okay school and behind by good play blue behind by so mino sa realize in school and one him something 18 so school them is so mino sa interest good to go to school na this like stop chol na beni ol mangi se community am la stop kan influence bani stop by sta inchalo bani sta so but islam la stop musa alele fence am la sta inside musa pasin blo se community am la stop with me to me grow musa me looking go na samo se me go inside la part or isla life gain.
Joe enrolled in the Life Skills program in 2020. However, enrolling was only the first step towards a new journey Joe was stepping into. In 2001, he entered into the third phase of the program. A step short of completion, Joe was asked to leave the program by the leaders to battle his personal demons as he was challenged to let go of his bad habits and what he knew as the norm, to make room for the new life he was being introduced to. Years of influence, bad habits, and misguided decision-making caused Joe to go astray. He was not used to hard manual work, gardening, tending to livestock, or taking part in school-organized activities for long periods of time. However, after 3 weeks away from the program, Joe made the decision to come back and start over with a renewed sense of purpose. Joe says he never wants to go back to the life he lived before.
First, me start outside them Mosem. We didn't know life and Mosem, but me come inside them. Some school talk where leaders also discipline me plan. Mosem, give Mosem advice me plan. It's like going to some that tintin me. To a miss Mosem. Adlari to talk lo man to se sagi to talk lo house line. Also lo prares lo se community. So misunderstanding them no sa understanding mon man to. This is something when Misa walk him outside there. Behind me go back again and Miss Kelly was no right when me walk this like guy. That kind of line me walk. So mi start lo garele. Na mi start lo garele musem. Okay, mi luki me musem mi start lo wogi me. Helping mon mangi go now and musem start lo leading mon mangi now. Leaders also tubla leader lo garena also trusting me now also talking me lo. Misa leading mon mangi. How lo walking plot, fully streamline, planning more crops na but misa leading on mangi lo this lale garen. Kam now musem mi get used lo how lo planning na misa musem. I'm good plan lo sem behind now but me by sem. Polo place so on the little area start lo most pintin lo ge garen lo it's like I more thing.
As a non-profit organization, CMPNG operates on the generous support of private businesses, organizations, individual partners to make a difference on the lives of countless Papua New Guineans each year. The lack of government support to the NGO is quite evident, as major support comes in the form of cash or kind from private organizations and overseas donors. However, recently, Minister for Foreign Affairs and Trade and member for Kikori Open, Soro Yoe, donated 50,000 kina to CMPNG's Life Skills Center. Jared Bengeza, City Mission's general manager, described the mission as the stop before Bomana for many of the young men. He thanked Minister Yoe for the support.
Thank you very much for the donation, which is really needed, and we want to make good use of it, spending it on much needed tools and equipment to prop up our program, to bring better quality to our trainings program.
Julie Bengeza, wife of CMPNG's general manager and a passionate volunteer of the organization supporting her husband, expressed that she does what she can to support her husband in the daily activities and needs of the training center. Julie emphasized on the need for more consistent government support.
We've discovered a lot of disconnection between us as an NGO and people outside. Either it could be government or the places that we're supposed to get help, mostly on behalf of the young men. So there is actually a huge disconnections. We are just working alone, isolation, and they themselves. So I don't think the community development that is set knows us. They are aware of us, but we're not really sure what's the procedure. Do we reach out to them? We work on our own, and we also got told there's a few people that we could able to reach out, and we reach out to them, but they haven't. So there is actually disconnections between us.
The program usually takes on board 150 young men to train. However, that number has been reduced to just a little over 100 in the last year. Julie said CMPNG provides necessities such as toiletry and daily meals for the young men. The program also assists them to handle their addictions. This includes smoking, alcohol, and betel nut chewing. With a staff of 20 skilled professionals in different trades and roles, the mission's Life Skills Center still lacks a medical specialist for the 8 posts on campus. That is why Preston Dimark, the mission's caseworker, not only assists the boys in seeking employment opportunities, but also steps in at the mission's 8 post. With his basic first aid training, Dimark assists in treating non-emergency cases at the 8 post and makes referrals for further consultation to the Kaugere Clinic. It is at the Kaugere Clinic that a referral for further consultation to Port Moresby General Hospital will be made for more serious health issues. Dimark said where treatment supplies are unavailable from the clinics, CMPNG steps in to purchase medication for the trainees upon prescription. City Mission PNG recognizes the clear disconnect between the NGO and the state and thus is seeking to establish ties with the National Volunteer Service PNG and the Department for Community Development and Religion. The mission also hopes to have a full-time staff for the 8 posts to provide better healthcare services to the trainees, staff, and the surrounding community when necessary. When we come back, PNG improves in corruption index ranking, demonstrating some transformation taking place. Papua New Guinea has improved from its 2020 Corruption Perception Index, ranking from 142 ranking, moving 18 places up to rank 124 out of 180 countries in 2021. While it demonstrates some transformation taking place, TIPNG Chairman Peter Aitsi said the introduction and amendments to laws cannot be implemented without enforcement. Justice Minister Brian Kramer said the ranking is the highest in a decade, attributing the success to reforms implemented by the Marape government since taking office.
Corruption in Papua New Guinea is somewhat inbuilt in our system. It is almost a way of life. According to a study done by Dev Policy titled Everyday Corruption in Papua New Guinea, A Way of Life, public servants were put on the spotlight. The report suggests that public servants expect rewards in exchange for providing government services. This included lunch money for betel nut, phone flex cards, and Coca-Cola. University graduates have also found themselves in similar situations after school. It is whom you know these days to land a job in Papua New Guinea. Transparency International Papua New Guinea have been in the forefront of fighting corruption in the country since 1996. In February, the civil society group announced that the country made improvements in the Corruption Perception Index, moving 18 places up from 142 to rank 124 out of 180 countries. TIPNG Chairman Peter Aitsi said PNG is 14 points lower in the Asia region, Pacific region 45, and 12 points below the global average of 43, adding that slow progress is better than no progress. While he acknowledged the government's introduction and amendments to laws, Aitsi said the laws cannot be implemented without enforcement.
The message from TI is that we still have a lot of work to do, and so that's our message to government. While we can acknowledge the small improvement, we still want to make sure the government is focused on those laws the laws legislation that it's introduced, and then the enabling regulations that are still yet to be enacted, in order for us to then empower those organisations, as I said, to take on the fight against corruption.
Justice Minister Brian Kramer, who has been vocal about fighting corruption since taking office in 2017, said the improvement on PNG's index ranking shows that the Marape government is implementing reforms that are working.
The adoption of the Organic Law and the Independent Anti-Corruption Commission by a full majority of Parliament was a major achievement. The constitutional amendment allowed for prosecution powers for the Interim Independent Commission against corruption, that now it has an investigation and prosecution powers. The Anti-Corruption Technical Working Group has started the process to establish an independent commission against corruption through the selection of 3 commissioners in an open international call. The Bank of PNG and the Department of Justice and the Attorney General, as our co-chairs to the National Coordinating Committee, are responsible for anti-money laundering, counter-terrorism financing reforms to ensure that PNG meets its international obligations.
After the break, milestone contract signed for the biggest maritime infrastructure investment in Papua New Guinea. PNG Ports Corporation Limited has crossed a milestone with the signing of a contract agreement between the PNG government and the Australian government at the APEC House in January this year. The signing of the funding for a $435 million equivalent to 480 million Australian dollars or 1.5 billion kina has been regarded as Australian government's single biggest maritime infrastructure investment in PNG.
This contract signing guarantees the rehabilitation of major seaport wharves for the next 30 years. Due to the COVID-19 surge during that time, the contract signing between the two prime ministers was conducted virtually at the APEC House. The 480 million kina Australian dollar or 1.5 billion kina contract was signed to support the MOA signed in June 2021 for a 30-year ports infrastructure rehabilitation program. Prime Minister Marape expressed sentiments towards the Australians, saying that this would be the second time for such a generous gesture.
We are very grateful and thankful for Australia to step in to assist this important part of our economy that is the export and import point for most, if not all, of the major revenue transactions in our country. So I just want to say thank you very much for this intervention.
Australian Prime Minister Scott Morrison, who signed the contract virtually from Australia, complimented Marape and PNG government. He expressed trust in those who they are engaging.
When we make these commitments to Papua New Guinea, we make them understanding those who we're dealing with and their ability to follow through and to deal with us in this trustworthy way. And so our agreement today and what we're doing is an expression of great confidence in Papua New Guinea's future. Not just the larger ports in PNG, but now particularly the port up in Lae, but the many others, as you said, in New Britain and Manus and New Ireland and West and East Sepik, so many other parts of the country that will benefit economically. And as that economic support is put in place and the economic opportunities are realised, then the prosperity and the well-being of the people of Papua New Guinea will rise.
He added that strengthening the infrastructure of PNG is a central pillar of PNG-Australia partnership, in particular a strong priority for the government of PNG and Prime Minister James Marape.
This is a key milestone in our relationship between the two countries. In 2020, in August, Prime Minister Marape and Prime Minister Morrison signed the new Comprehensive Strategic and Economic Partnership, what we call the CSEP. It sets out a vision for what Australia and PNG want to achieve together, committing us to elevating already strong, close ties.
High Commissioner Philp emphasized that by volume and by value, ports distribute the highest amount of goods into, out of, and around PNG compared to any other transport modes, even the roads.
Those ports are major gateways for the transportation distribution of PNG's imports and exports. Your ports are the closest ports of any countries to Australia, so it matters to us as well. Make no mistake, this is an investment we consider to be in both our countries' interests. So in June 2021, we're incredibly pleased to be able to sign an MOU with PNG Ports and the PNG government to expand our partnership with PNG in the maritime infrastructure sector. And we've been working since then with the PNG Ports Corporation to design and prepare for the priority upgrades of PNG's existing ports infrastructure.
PNG Port, as a state-owned enterprise, is a part of the Kumul Consolidated Holdings, of which Moses Maladina is the chairman. Maladina said the signing of the agreement both strengthens the historical bilateral ties between the two countries as well as enhances the reform objectives of PNG Port as an SOE.
Maritime transport has been the formal means of passage for trade and for goods and services, both domestically and internationally. And KCH, as a shareholder, is always mindful of our two fundamental objectives. First, to provide a reliable, affordable, and accessible service for the benefit and welfare of our citizens and for others who reside here and also for those who do business here. And secondly, the objective is to acquire an acceptable return on investment so that we are profitable.
He added that though there are some ports that are not profitable, it is imperative that goods and services reach those ports and for development purposes. Maladina said the SOEs are obliged to make money so they can pay dividends to the government. Meanwhile, Chairman of the PNG Ports Corporation Limited, Kepas Wale expressed his gratitude during the signing of the multi-million-dollar funding contract over 30 years.
So today is truly a significant milestone for PNG Ports. And for that, I also take this opportunity to thank the Australian government in having the confidence and trust in PNG Ports with the awarding of this financial agreement worth US dollars 435 million, which is almost 1.5 billion kina.
While he said he is delighted that the $70 million of that is an interest-free grant from the people and government of Australia to the people and government of PNG.
And the balance of that is a very concessional terms to support the investment in our port infrastructure.
He acknowledged Prime Minister Marape, the Ministry of State Enterprise and Kumul Consolidated Holdings for believing in PNG Ports and supporting this initiative for ports rehabilitation. The chief host of the event, Minister for the SOE, William Duma, thanked the Australian government and its people for making this master plan a reality. He said in June 2021, PNG state-owned enterprise launched a 30-year ports infrastructure master plan, which is the first of its kind undertaken by the department.
And that ends Scope this evening. A kind reminder to apply simple measures to prevent the transmission of the coronavirus. Regularly wash your hands with soap and water. Cough or sneeze into your elbow and exercise social distancing. If you are feeling sick, please stay at home. You can also call the COVID-19 hotline number for more information or assistance. Thank you for your company. Bye for now.